In today's video, we're going to be predicting narrative shifts that are going to happen after UFC 317. When I say narrative shift, I mean how we're going to look at fighters after the fights that take place this weekend. The things that we're going to say, the things that we're going to tell our friends, how we perceive the fight, how the fight went. We're going to try to look into the future and Doctor Strange UFC 317. First fight of the night is Niko Price taking on Jacobe Smith, and I think after this fight, we're going to be saying that Jacobe Smith is a future welterweight champion. The fact that he has a wrestling background and can also crack like he did against Niko Price, he is going to be the future champ. And I honestly hope Niko was paid a lot for this one. Not really sure why Niko Price even took this fight. If you look at his recent resume, he's just fighting old heads. Alex Morono, Robbie Lawler, and now out of nowhere, with basically one fight left on his contract, they're throwing him Jacobe Smith, who's minus 2,000 against him. So hopefully Niko Price made the bag and can feed all 9 of his children. Next fight taking place is Jhonata, Diniz, and Alvin Hines. And after this one, I think we're going to say this is why Jon Jones retired. Honestly, you got a guy like Jhonata Diniz going out there and steamrolling heavyweights. No wonder Jon Jones retired. What a mismatch this was. We had an undefeated prospect with no history of the UFC going against Jhonata Diniz, who is a Glory Kickboxing world champ and has multiple fights in the UFC. And also, we're probably going to say, oh wow, Diniz can defend takedowns now. You know, the narrative going into this fight is that Diniz can't defend the takedown, and if you take him down, he's cooked. But in this one, against a low-level guy who's going to probably shoot takedowns, I mean, odds are that he's going to be able to defend them. He's minus 300, so wow, he can defend takedowns now, and no wonder Jones retired. Next up, we got Sedrique Dumas taking on Jackson McVey, and after this one, as you can see, I have the winner I predict in the middle for every one of these slides. So after this one, well, that was free. I mean, Jackson McVey might be the freest money on the entire card, and he might make it look very easy. And we're going to say, why does Dumas think he won? If this goes to the decision, why is Dumas acting like he won the fight? All he did was hug Jackson McVey for a couple minutes of each round, and he's going to think he won the fight. Not sure why Dumas would think that. And then we're also going to probably say he'd probably get destroyed by anyone else. I think Jackson McVey, I predicted him to have a sub, but as I look into it more, I think he's just going to win a weird decision. And it's going to convince us that against any other middleweight, Jackson McVey might actually get destroyed. Next up, we got Terrence McKinney taking on Viecheslav Borshchev. Now, the narrative heading into this fight is Terrence McKinney has no cardio. If it goes past round 1, he's going to lose. The other narrative is Viecheslav has good power in his hands, so he should be able to chin a guy like Terrence McKinney. The other narrative is Terrence McKinney can possibly sub Viecheslav because he has basically no ground game. But I think after this fight, we're going to be saying, wow, McKinney is fighting patiently. Wow, that's not something we're used to seeing. Slava is completely washed. He looks completely dead in that cage. I think against Tom Nolan, that exposed that Slava is washed, but against Terrence McKinney, it's going to expose it 100 times more. Slava is washed, and I'm also surprised the overhit. You know, my prediction for this fight is McKinney round 1 sub. So is everyone else in the world. They're predicting a round 1 sub or a round 2 KO for Viecheslav Borshchev. There's no in between. The fact that the over 1.5 hit, I'm surprised. You know, Terrence McKinney by decision, that wasn't an outcome I predicted. That wasn't an outcome anybody predicted. Terrence McKinney at the points fight his way to a victory? That's crazy. Wow, McKinney is fighting patiently. And we got Viviane Araujo taking on Tracy Cortez, and I can already understand what Twitter's going to say about this one. If Tracy Cortez does not win this fight, like I predict, if Viviane Araujo wins, like I predict, obviously they're going to say robbery. No matter what happens with Cortez losing, they will say robbery. Even if Araujo outstrikes Cortez by like 50 significant strikes, they're going to scream robbery. Even if she outstrikes her by a couple strikes and gets control time, they're going to scream robbery. No matter how this fight ends, even if Viviane wins, even if she loses, I can see people saying robbery. Because it's just that close. It's going to be decided on very thin margins. If Viviane wins, that was a crafty vet performance, honestly. She's 13-6, multiple years in the UFC, multiple fights in the UFC. Meanwhile, Tracy Cortez 11-2, only 4 fights, I think maybe 5 fights in the UFC. But we're going to say, wow, crafty vet performance by Araujo. Back-to-back crafty vet performances since she just beat Karine Silva the same way. I don't know which way that she's going to beat Cortez, but the same way because I'm predicting the future. And then we're also going to probably Next up, Hyder Amil takes on Jose Delgado. I'm picking Jose Delgado to win this by round 1 KO. And if that happens, we're going to be saying, wow, he made that look easy. Wow. Hyder Amil was never good. Hyder Amil was never good. If Hyder Amil goes out there and loses to Jose Delgado, I can so see people saying Hyder Amil was never good. You go ahead and break down his fights against William Gomi. That was a robbery decision. He should have lost. Against Fernie Garcia. That guy does not belong in the UFC. Against Jung Young Lee. Well, Jung Young Lee just got fraud checked by Daniel Santos. Like, you can pick apart Hyder Amil's UFC resume right now. And if Jose Delgado wins, I can see people picking it apart tenfold. Hyder Amil was never good. Not saying I think Hyder Amil was never good, but that's just the potential perspective we're going to see after this fight. And also, I was going to say, you know, give him a top 15 guy, but screw it. Just feed him Lerone Murphy. Jose Delgado is a high-pace action fighter that is great to watch. Lerone Murphy, decision merchant. Let's just make Jose Delgado go from rank 73 all the way to rank number 8 in the world by taking on Lerone Murphy and just getting Lerone Murphy out of the ranking. Let's just do that. Next up, Jack Hermansson taking on RoboCop Gregory Rodrigues. And I do have RoboCop picked to win. I could see people saying, oh wow, what a crafty veteran performance by Jack Hermansson, but based on how I see the fight playing out, well, yeah, Jack hasn't fought in a year. No wonder he looks slow. That's definitely something people will say. Jack looks completely helpless. If Jack can't get takedowns and this stays standing, he's going to get cracked by RoboCop, and he's going to look completely helpless. And then they're also going to say, wow, RoboCop looks like he's 50, but he fights like he's 20. Check that guy's birth certificate, all right? Is he related to Barack Obama? I mean, Barack Obama certainly can't crack like Gregory Rodrigues, so let's look into this guy's background, see what he's actually made of. Let's literally open this guy up top to bottom and spread his abdomen and see if he actually is a robot. That's how this fight is going to play out. He is going to be a madman. Then we got Payton Talbott taking on Felipe Lima in the people's main event of the card, if you don't count Josh Van Brandon Royval. Payton Talbott, Felipe Lima. After this one, we're going to be saying, why was he the underdog? Wait, Payton Talbott was plus 170? Wasn't he just minus 1,500? And he made it look easy? Why was he the underdog? I guess Ronnie Barcelos is actually good. I think he's really him. Ronnie Barcelos must be really good because Felipe Lima just got fraud checked. Alright, even if Felipe Lima loses to Talbot, I wouldn't say it's a fraud check, but that's just the narrative that's going to shift after this fight. Because going into this fight, everyone's saying, oh, Talbot can't defend a takedown. He has gust of wind takedown defense. But after this fight, people will be saying, wow, Payton Talbot, why did I ever not believe in this guy? And we got Beneil Dariush taking on Renato Moicano, and we're going to probably say that was a glorified sparring match. Beneil, if he's not landing a power shot, he throws with very low volume, and if he's throwing with low volume, I don't see why Moicano just wouldn't keep it standing and fire back low volume of his own, turning it into a glorified sparring match. So this could 100% play out that way. We probably also will say Beneil's completely washed. The narrative going into this one is that Beneil can stop takedowns. So if he can stop takedowns, he can most likely knock out Moicano. But my argument is that Beneil is already washed. We've seen it in his last 2 fights. He looks completely clueless now on the feet. He looks like a senior citizen. I'm not just saying that because of his gray hair. He also fights like one. He has no lateral movement, no real head movement. And then the Moicano champ run continues. You know, it kind of had a bump in the road when he actually fought the champ on short notice and lost. But now that he has that Beneil win under his belt, he did what he needed to win. Glorified sparring match. The champ run continues. Then Brandon Royval takes on Joshua Van, and the narrative going into this one is Joshua Van is 1 win away from fighting for a title. Joshua Van is actually him. Joshua Van taking short notice fights against top 5 ranked contenders. No one else is doing that in the division. Well, I think after this one, we're going to be like, oh, that was too big of a jump for Josh Van. Van fought 2 weeks ago. Of course, he had no time to prepare. Of course, he had no real fight camp to fight Brandon Royval. Royval has always had sneaky wrestling. You know, I can see Royval getting some weird takedowns in this one. You know, Ray Saruya couldn't really take down Josh Van, but Ray Saruya has no striking. So if Royval is having success on the feet, gets Josh Van's hands up, then all of a sudden the takedowns might come easier, and we'll see that insane BJJ that he has once it hits the mat. So going into this fight, it's like, oh wow, Josh Van, really hoping he gets this one. But after, we're going to be like, nah, it kind of makes sense that he lost. You know, it's way too big of a jump. He's going from fighting number 13 to fighting number 3. it took 2 weeks notice, I can already see the Twitter headlines. Then we got the co-main event, Alexandre Pantoja taking on Kai Kara-France. Now, the narrative heading into this one is that Pantoja has good takedowns, but Kai Kara-France has good takedown defense. Kai Kara-France has one-punch KO power, so he could probably find the button on Pantoja at some point in this fight. Pantoja is also 35 years old. So the 35-year-old curse, when you're a champion and you're 35 years old, 99% of the time you lose the belt, other than when Volk just fought Diego Lopez this year. But I think after this fight, we're going to be saying, wow, that was the classic Pantoja performance. Classic gritty performance by Alexandre Pantoja, if I do say so myself. I think the main reason we'll say that is Pantoja probably gets rocked a few times in this fight. But Pantoja, almost every fight that happens, he grits it out. He has an iron chin. We will also say that. He has an iron chin. Granite chin. Kai Kara-France is going to be hitting him with some big shots, and Pantoja's just going to boof, boof, eat them for breakfast. And then we're also going to say, Kara-France is a dog, man. Even if Kara-France loses a 48-47 decision, he probably made it look close. He probably had some moments of success. So we'll probably be applauding Kai Kara-France for his performance in this one. Kai Kara-France is a dog, man. Shout out to you, making it close with the champ. Classic New Zealander performance. We're going to see the... It's going to be cringe when he loses by decision, and pre-fight, he's like... But, yeah. Then the main event, Ilia Topuria taking on Charles Oliveira. Now, I have Ilia to win by round 1 KO, and if that were to happen... the shifts of narratives will be crazy. So this is why Jon Jones retired. Because Ilia Topuria moved from featherweight to lightweight, kills the next lightweight. Then he's going to move lightweight to welterweight, kills the welterweight. I can already see in the future, heavyweight Ilia Topuria is coming. Give it like 4 or 5 years. He'll clear out not just the UFC lightweight, not just the UFC featherweight divisions. He'll clear out every division. And that is why Jon Jones retired. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Anyways, he is literally God. He just knocked out Volk. He just knocked out Max. He just knocked out Du Bronx. Who's next? Derek Lewis? How many fan favorites can you possibly knock out in a row? You must be God. And then we'll probably also say he is a minus 500 favorite. This was a layup for Topuria, to be honest. Now let's see him fight Armin. Let's see him fight someone that actually employs takedowns to a greater degree. Let's see him fight a real lightweight contender. Du Bronx is over the hill anyway. 10 losses to his career. We've seen him knocked out before. We've seen him submitted before. There's no aura of invincibility about Charles Oliveira. This was a layup for Topuria. I can most likely see that argument being made as well. Ultimately speaking, I think this is going to be a banger fight. And if Charles somehow pulls off the upset, we're going to probably say as well, oh, well, Ilia is too small for lightweight. That's just it. He's just too small for lightweight. Ilia has a built-in trap card for this fight. If he loses, he's just too small for lightweight and just goes back down to featherweight. No problem. And Charles, if he wins the lightweight belt, so congrats.